For the past week or so, I have been reading and working with the Chess Memory Palace book by John Holden. You can see the previous two videos from the link above. But in this video, I'm going to show you how I went about mapping out my first Chess Memory Palace based on my own repertoire. Before I do that though, just a very quick mention about why I am investing my time with, alpacas and with jam on the head and things like that, which sounds crazy. It's because I absolutely believe and I know the power of Memory Palace. I know how it works because I've done it myself with other things. So I absolutely think that this has got an amazing potential to transform opening study, a memorization of opening study. Right, repetition is fantastic. It's really, really good. It's like a well-constructed bow and arrow. Right, but memory palaces, they're the nuclear bomb. Right, they're the nuclear technology, and then this is very, very exciting. So the first thing I did was I chose a relevant, part of my repertoire to win there. I'm not going to do my entire black repertoire in one memory palace. That's just too much, right? So what I didn't even break it down into the French. I broke it down into the advanced French, right? So the exchange I'd leave for another day. I put somewhere else. I probably wouldn't even put the exchange, in a memory palace anyway, right? And other mainline moves, right, I will leave again for another day, but I am actually playing something like a folk knocks at the moment to avoid theory. But with this now, I'm perhaps going to choose more complex lines, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, I'm going to choose a relevant line that's going to fit pretty well into a memory palace. It's not too big in one chunk and it's not too small. So I try to put something like the advanced variation in. So here's an example of main lines that I put in yesterday. It was, yes. So I go into this move, in this position, and this is a repertoire I found from a Serbian master, 2200, 2300. It's good enough for me, definitely. So I'm playing this offbeat move, which is I think the third down on the popularity, so it's already a bit of a niche opening, might catch white off at club level a little bit. So this branches out into 5 different moves, one of them which can be dismissed pretty easy on one move. Right, so after this move, black just regains one of these pawns, has got an excellent position. So of those 5 choices, one is just literally one move, like 2-ply. The next one is also 3 moves along, which would be the bishop e2 line. There we go. The bishop e2 line, I only have to do this and realise that this means a pawn, right? So of those 5 options, I've only really got 3 lines to look at, but it branches off in 5 directions. One of them is one move, one is in 3 moves. The other 3 are more length. They go into about 10 moves. Altogether, the moves go into 37 different moves at 2-ply, so 74 moves altogether, right? Which sounds a lot, but it's not. I'll just show you very quickly the main line, just the sort of thing, and the amount of depth that I'm sort of going into. So that is one main line, and very briefly I'll just show you the other. And these do flag out a little bit, they branch out with themselves, so it's one of them branches out like 3 times a different way. So it looks pictorially like this. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Probably not. Yeah, something like that. Right, so it goes up, as you can see the main line there, goes up in one strong variation, one straight variation, it branches off a little bit, and then there's another branch off there, and that other one branches off a little bit. One of them is completely linear, one line, and then you've got the small stuff at the bottom. So what I did is I mapped out, pictorially what that looks like. So as this was my first go at this, I spent a lot of time getting it wrong, right? And look at all this. I must have chopped down like several trees just to get the right method and get the right process. It took me ages, but that's because it's my first go. It's not going to be perfect at something straight away. Like, it's just not going to happen, is it? You have to put the work in beforehand, and then hopefully the next time this happens, the next time I do one, it won't take me 5-6 hours. It could take me like an hour, right? So what I would advise is the next step is, think of an appropriate place to put that pictorial diagram. Where would you put it? I put mine in a pub, obviously. Of course I did. Put mine in a pub, and then also a line went into McDonald's next to the pub. In all that scrap paper, I've actually found a better version of what it looks like pictorially. So that is what I got pictorially. I drew that and I thought that's what it looks like you know, with circles and arrows. So then I transferred that. That's the next step into going through the repertoire, right, bit by bit, and then picking out the keywords, right, fitting that into boxes. And top tip here, do it on Word. Don't do it on paper. Do it on Word, and then you can change it around. It was far quicker once I realised that was the best thing. So what I basically do is I start from where I went here, and I work out, you know, what move this is using the book. And John's very kindly put the index online on his website for free, so you could even choose that, you know, and get a bit of practice before you want to go and buy the book. If you want to do that, I would recommend buying it though. So I went through this and I worked out all the moves from the index, and then what I did is I checked it, and I checked it again, and the next day I checked it again, right, because I had this process where I got this brain, right, and he was playing a banjo, he's playing George Formby in the McDonald's, like this brain, and then I come running in and think, I've got it wrong, he's not playing banjo, he's sponge. I run upstairs and someone says, what are you doing, what's up, you know, is the house on fire? I said, no, brain's not playing banjo, it's sponge. But then when I got upstairs I realised I made a previous move that was an error, and actually brain is still playing banjo, thank God for that. So here's what this looks like when I put it on Word, when I finally thought, I'm going to put it on Word. It's much easier. So you can see that's my rep lines with both the images that go in the relevant places. And then what you need to do is fit that into a story, fit that into a memorable story. You know, more on that on part 2 video. If you flip back on the part 2 video, you can see how I did that. Make it engaging, you know, make it memorable, make it, you know, involving things rather than just the pictures, get involved with the pictures. Once you've done that, you're nearly ready for the next step. I would say one massive tip on this, if you're going to use one room for different variations, try and start at the door for each variation. It's really useful, I think, to start a variation at the door of a room. So let's say the pub branches into different directions. There's a pool room in one bit. You could start the variation at the door and have the variations going into the room. Same with the main bar area. And then that way you can, in your memory palace, you can go, well, I know the variations always start at the door, and you can go straight to the door and then follow that through. Put the, you know, the smaller variations, you have to try to fit them in the smaller rooms and try and balance it out that way. So when I originally wrote it, I had a long variation at one side, but I switched that around to the other side because that fit better with the layout of the pub, if that makes sense. The next stage after you've done that is to go through and check that it works. And you know, this is slow process at first, but it will get faster and faster and faster, and I believe it could be amazing, you know, as I keep saying. So then, you know, go through and check that everything's right. And this is where I had that panic and when I ran in about, you know, the banjo, right, go through, check what's the move in this position, right, and check that works. Yeah, that works. And then, yeah, that works. It's Robert. And then next one, yeah. And go through and just check that it works. And then you've completed your memory palace. There's only a couple of things you need to do next. Review. So we need to review to keep those memories fresh and those memory palaces fresh. But the good news is this is really easy to do it. You find it really difficult to forget, which is amazing. Actually, just saying that, I find it really difficult to forget my openings. I've been awful at openings all my life. Not anymore, nothing. So yeah, review, but you just review the story now and again. Right, last night, before I went to bed, I reviewed the entire, you know, lines I've just been looking at there in a few minutes. 5 minutes. In fact, it's just so easy. It's so easy to do. And this is where we're going to save time that we can reinvest into other areas like tactics or positional stuff. There's one more thing you need to do. Don't go yet. This is really important. Right? We need to sing out George Formby. If you've got any other questions, just drop them in the chat and I'll get back to you. It is quite a complicated process at first, but you get used to it. So anyway, before you go, come on, all together now. I go window cleaning to earn an honest bob. For a nosy poker, it's an interesting job. It's a job that just suits me. Window cleaning you would be. You could see what I could see when I'm cleaning windows.